We were not talking about Caitlin Clark before that moment.
Makes no sense to me.
Let's face reality.
Well, we have to remember one thing. She's not Caitlin Clark.
If Angel Reese had never waved her hand in her face when LSU was beating Iowa, if that hadn't happened, Angel Reese's name might not be as big. Yes, she would have made the WNBA. But in terms of her popularity, it really soared after she took down Caitlin Clark. And then Caitlin Clark came back and got revenge by knocking LSU out.
Angel Reese is riding Caitlin Clark's coattails.
She's going to be attached to Caitlin Clark to some degree.
Stephen A. Smith just dropped a bombshell that's sending shockwaves through the sports world. Joy Taylor dared to compare Angel Reese to Caitlin Clark, claiming Clark's fame exists only because of Reese.
We're not talking about Caitlin Clark before Angel Reese walked up to her, did this, and pointed to the ring. This is not my opinion. I lived it. I watched it. It was recorded. It was broadcasted live. She just said.
Stephen A. didn't hold back obliterating her arguments and exposing the truth behind both players' popularity even.
Even though she's not Caitlin Clark, she's going to be reminded she's not Caitlin Clark with every good thing that Caitlin Clark does.
If you think Caitlin Clark's achievements can be overshadowed, think again and wait until you hear the shocking revelations about Joy Taylor's credibility or lack thereof.
Raji claims that when she would go out to meet Taylor for dinner or drinks, Charlie Dixon was always around. And that is when she said that Taylor shushed her, explained what Dixon's position was in the company, and Raji believed that they were sleeping together.
And none of this stuff surprises me because I have been in this industry for over 10 years, and unfortunately I've seen a lot of things like that.
This video will leave you questioning everything about the narrative Taylor tried to sell. Let's dive in Joy Taylor's audacious claim that Caitlin Clark owes her fame to Angel Reese has ignited a firestorm of criticism, and right so.
Caitlin Clark, the reason I bring up Caitlin Clark is because they're attached at the hip with one another, which means they're ultimately going to be compared.
During a previous discussion, Taylor suggested that no one would have known Caitlin Clark's name if it weren't for Angel Reese's infamous ring gesture during the NCAA championship. This statement not only undermines Clark's extraordinary achievements, but also exposes a blatant bias that Stephen A. Smith didn't hesitate to dismantle.
You look at Caitlin Clark is balling. She's a Rookie of the Year. She was one of the finalists for the league MVP honors as a rookie, breaking all types of records. She should have been on Team USA. Her brand building has been incredibly impressive.
Let's set the record straight. Caitlin Clark's name was already lighting up the sports world long before Reese's theatrics. Clark wasn't just a rising star. She was a phenomenon in women's basketball. Caitlin Clark has handled her branding extremely well, whereas with Angel Reese, sometimes you find yourself scratching out your head and wondering what the hell she's doing, like that photo right there. But when you do that, you can't come down the line and complain about being objectified later on. It's not going to work. From her jaw-dropping performances in college to her ability to hit logo 3ES with ease, Clark was captivating audiences nationwide. In fact, during the NCAA tournament, Clark's record-breaking 41-point game against South Carolina, a previously undefeated team, was a talk of the sports community. And when you do stuff like that, and you're drawing attention to yourself because of that, that can be problematic for you, especially when the comparison is going to be drawn to Caitlin Clark, who isn't doing such things. That performance alone garnered millions of viewers, solidifying her status as a generational talent. By the time the championship game rolled around, Caitlin Clark was already the face of women's basketball. And you certainly have the right to dress how you want and to do what you want and to live your life. But people have a right to have their opinions about what you put on display. Stephen A. Smith wasted no time calling out Taylor's baseless remarks, highlighting the stark difference between the two players' paths to fame. As he put it, Caitlin Clark's popularity stems from her undeniable talent and unmatched skill set. But I also want to encourage her to bring her Instagram platform back, because that is her brand and she built that for the last X number of years. And now she can use it as a platform to market herself. But you have to be cognizant that no matter how you step out of your house, you are now Angel Reese. If you're not ready for the heat, then you just got to be mindful that what comes with it. Well, what I'm saying is, by pulling it down, clearly you felt there was something wrong with it. She has broken countless records and was even a finalist for the league MVP in her rookie WNBA season. Her achievements, including becoming Rookie of the Year, showcase her as a true athlete whose game speaks louder than any media narrative. She is not dumb. She's quite a brilliant young lady. She is in this age where she does know social media exists, and she has exploited it to her advantage. That means you're mindful of the imagery and the perception that you're resisting and creating about yourself. Angel Reese, on the other hand, gained most of her attention from a single moment, the ring gesture directed at Clark during LSU's victory over Iowa.
Was seen during various interviews and what have you, talking about threats, talking about insults, crying about how people were coming at her with such venom and hostility, particularly in her last year at LSU. She brought up all of these things, which means she was aware of it. And if you're aware of it, you have to understand that that's going to be part of the judgment that comes against you, fair or unfair.
After the season, and when I was in my press conference and I was talking about being sexualized, like, I guess people thought that was like because I post pictures in my bathing suits. No, like, multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me, like, naked.
She claimed to be sexualized. What is that? Drama. Total drama.
Have you ever noticed we never hear about the sexualization of Caitlin Clark? Why don't we see Caitlin Clark being sexualized? Because Caitlin Clark doesn't allow it.
Allow it. While Reese is undoubtedly a skilled player, her fame skyrocketed not because of her on-court dominance, but due to that viral moment. Smith even pointed out the uncomfortable reality. While Clark commands respect for her skills, Reese often draws attention for her personality and off-court presence, such as her provocative social media posts, which have little to do with basketball. It's not all about sharing everything it's about actually keeping a lot of this stuff intimate and private. Personal, I wouldn't wear that because that's not the way I want to be represented. She's literally held up an outline after getting waxed. Oh yes, please tell me how sexualized you are. What makes Taylor's remarks even more troubling is the implication of racial bias. By attempting to downplay Clark's accomplishments and tying her fame to Reese, Taylor seems to be pushing a narrative rooted in identity rather than merit. I'm not even talking about the outfit. I'm talking about overall pressure of having to be compared as a brand to somebody who's conducting their branding with near perfection. As Stephen Smith rightfully noted, such comparisons only fuel unnecessary division and detract from the incredible talent both players bring to the game. I don't want Nike turning her down because they don't see her as someone that's marketable, because neither do I, but when it comes to raw talent, Caitlin Clark's resume speaks for itself, and no amount of biased commentary can erase that. Caitlin Clark's fame isn't borrowed, it's earned, whether directly or indirectly. There's always eyes on you, what they're paying attention to, because they're trying to measure what your intentions are based off of what they see. Joy Taylor's attempt to undermine Caitlin Clark's achievements becomes even more questionable when you consider her history and the controversies surrounding her career.
Directly or indirectly, there's always eyes on you. What they're paying attention to, because they're trying to measure what your intentions are based off of what they see.
While Taylor presents herself as a credible voice in the sports world, recent revelations paint a very different picture. One that exposes her rise to fame as being rooted not in talent or expertise, but in exploitative tactics and scandals. Taylor has been at the center of a recent lawsuit filed by a former Fox Sports employee. According to the allegations, Taylor used her relationships and physical appearance to secure her position in the industry. The lawsuit claims that Taylor was involved in inappropriate relationships with powerful.
Told Joy Taylor about Charlie getting a little frisky. Joy Taylor responded by saying, "Get over it." Mrs. Faraji also insinuated that Joy Taylor used her feminine powers to advance her career in the company.
Faraji claims that she had attended a birthday party for Taylor. When she goes to this birthday party, she says that Dixon was there. Mr. Dixon approached her and then placed his arm on Miss Faraji's lower back. But as she knew Miss Taylor was sleeping with Mr. Dixon, she turned to her. Miss Taylor responded to get over it and explained that she herself only had her job because of Mr. Dixon.
Executives at Fox Sports, including Charlie Dixon, the vice president of content. Fragi claims that Taylor continued to use her sexuality to advance at the Fox company, and she did that by allegedly sleeping with Emmanuel Aiko, a former football player turned commentator. Allegedly, Taylor leveraged these connections to land high-profile roles, including her spot as the moderator for Skip and Shannon. Undisputed, these allegations suggest that her career advancements were less about her skill set and more about her willingness to exploit her personal relationships. The lawsuit also reveals that Taylor's approach was not limited to one individual. She allegedly used similar tactics with former NFL player turned commentator Emmanuel Aiko, seeking to secure opportunities on his show Speak for Yourself.
Raji claims that Taylor continued to use her sexuality to advance at the Fox company. And she did that by allegedly sleeping with Emmanuel Acho, a former football player turned commentator.
These accusations, if true, severely damage her credibility as a journalist and a commentator. It's worth noting that these aren't isolated claims. The lawsuit details a pattern of behavior where Taylor reportedly prioritized personal gain over professional integrity, even at the expense of others in the industry. Stephen A. Smith's takedown of Taylor resonates even more deeply when you consider these allegations. How can someone who allegedly used inappropriate means to climb the ladder in sports broadcasting speak authoritatively about the merits and achievements of athletes like Caitlin Clark? Taylor's credibility crumbles when you contrast her history with the relentless work ethic and undeniable talent of someone like Clark, the lawsuit says.
Faraji to meet her for lunch in Beverly Hills. She found Miss Taylor with a man, Emmanuel Acho. Miss Faraji didn't know Mr. Acho, but could tell that the two were romantically involved. Miss Taylor confirmed and explained that she wanted Mr. Acho to eventually recommend her on the show Speak for Yourself. Miss Faraji became alarmed and warned Miss Taylor that she should probably not sleep with Mr. Dixon and Mr. Acho at the same time. Miss Taylor told her not to worry about it.
During a previous discussion, Taylor suggested that no one would have known Caitlin Clark's name if it weren't for Angel Reese's infamous ring gesture during the NCAA championship. This statement not only undermines Clark's extraordinary achievements, but also exposes a blatant bias that Stephen A. Smith didn't hesitate to dismantle.
Nushin Faraji, who says she worked at Fox Sports from 2012 through last August, made a series of allegations in the 42-page lawsuit obtained by Front Office Sports. Fox, Fox Sports, FS1, FS2, Fox Sports EVP Charlie Dixon, Skip Bayless, and FS1 host Joy Taylor are listed as defendants in the lawsuit.
During a previous discussion, Taylor suggested that no one would have known Caitlin Clark's name if it weren't for Angel Reese's infamous ring gesture during the NCAA championship. This statement not only undermines Clark's extraordinary achievements, but also exposes a blatant bias that Stephen A. Smith didn't hesitate to dismantle.
The lawsuit says Ms. Faraji brings forth this action because for over a decade at Fox, she was forced to endure a misogynistic, racist, ableist workplace where executives and talent were allowed to physically and verbally abuse workers with impunity. When Ms. Faraji and others came forward to report the wrongdoing, instead of addressing their concerns, Fox retaliated against them while the perpetrators and those who protected them were inexplicably promoted. This case thus represents yet another in a long line of cases chronicling the toxic culture at Fox, marked by bad faith promises and repeated failures to address a poisonous and entrenched patriarchy.